Commander Kate Ellis stood at the viewport of the ISS Resilient, watching the alien fleet emerge from hyperspace. The massive ships, dark and angular against the stars, numbered in the hundreds, dwarfing Earth's hastily assembled defense force. Final. "Calculations complete, Commander," Lieutenant Reed said, his voice steady despite the hollowness in his eyes. "Based on our weapons capabilities versus their observed technology, odds of victory stand at approximately 1%. The command deck fell silent. Admiral West cleared his throat. "Let's be realistic. Those aren't insurmountable odds. 1% means there's still hope." Kate turned from the viewport, her gaze sweeping across the faces of her crew. Some young, some seasoned, all human, all waiting for guidance as an alien armada approached their homeworld. "With respect, Admiral," she said, voice cutting through the silence. "A 1% chance isn't hope. It's a death sentence." The Admiral's face hardened. "Commander, because we're calculating the wrong variables," Kate continued. "We're measuring weapon yields and shield strengths, hull thickness and fighter counts." She moved to the central display, bringing up the fleet formation. "But that's not how humans win when outmatched." Kate zoomed in on the alien flagship, twice the size of their largest vessel. 3 weeks ago, we didn't know aliens existed. Now we're facing extinction. Yet in those 3 weeks, we've reversed-engineered their communication protocols, identified structural weaknesses in their ships, and formed a unified Earth defense force for the first time in human history." She looked up at her crew. "The Vorn have been conquering worlds for centuries. They've never lost because they've never faced humans. They're calculating based on technology, but they can't calculate human ingenuity or determination." Admiral West's expression softened. "What are you proposing, Commander?" "We rewrite the equation." Kate brought up a new display showing Earth's moon. Operation Slingshot. Unconventional, high risk, and something they won't see coming. The tactical officer, Davis, leaned forward. "The lunar defense platforms aren't operational yet." "Exactly. Why they won't be watching them?" Kate replied. "The Vorn intercepted our military communications. They know about our defense grid and fleet positions. But the civilian lunar mining operations..." Understanding dawned on Davis's face. "The mass drivers." Kate nodded. 300 electromagnetic launchers designed to fire ore containers to Earth orbit, each capable of accelerating a 20-ton payload to escape velocity. "Those aren't weapons," Admiral West objected. "Anything moving fast enough is a weapon," Kate countered. "The miners can retrofit the drivers to launch improvised projectiles. Not explosives, just mass and velocity. Newton's laws still apply even to advanced alien warships." Lieutenant Reed was already calculating. "If we time it with our fleet's assault, it could work as a pincer movement." "We'd need to coordinate with civilians," Admiral West said, his tone shifting from dismissal to consideration. "Already done," Kate said, pulling up a communication log. "My brother runs the Copernicus facility. Every mining operation from Armstrong to Tycho is ready to convert their equipment. They've been waiting for the order." The Admiral studied the plan, then Kate herself. "You prepared this contingency without authorization?" "I prepared it because it needed to exist," Kate replied without apology. "Because when faced with extinction, protocol becomes secondary to survival." A tense moment passed between them. "Very well, Commander." The Admiral straightened. "Coordinate with lunar operations. We launch in 30 minutes. As the command deck erupted into activity, Kate returned to the viewport. The alien fleet hung in space, overwhelming in its vastness. 1% odds, calculated by machines and statistics. But they hadn't factored in the human element, the savage creativity that emerged when backs were against the wall. The aliens had encountered many species, but never humans. They were about to learn what that meant. The Vorn fleet commander, Supreme War Leader Krall, observed the primitive human vessels with something approaching disappointment. His massive frame dwarfed the bridge officers around him as he studied the tactical display. "Their formations are rudimentary," he rumbled, mandibles clicking. "Defensive clusters around their homeworld with a scattered perimeter. Predictable." His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vex, nodded. "Their technology is at least 3 cycles behind our standard. Preliminary scans confirm their weapons cannot penetrate our primary shields." "And yet they prepare to fight," Krall mused. "Curious." Most species surrender when faced with overwhelming force. He had subjugated 17 worlds in his career, but something about these humans unsettled him. Their communications indicated comprehension of their situation, yet they showed no signs of capitulation. Perhaps they don't understand the futility of resistance, Vex suggested. No, Krell replied. They understand. They simply refuse to accept it. This was why he had brought such overwhelming force. Intelligence indicated humans were unusually adaptable, though technologically inferior. Better to crush them decisively than allow them time to evolve strategies. Commence the standard approach, Krell ordered. Full-spectrum communication jamming. Disable their primitive satellites first. While the Vorn fleet began methodical destruction of Earth's orbital infrastructure across the void, Kate was finalizing Operation Slingshot. Mining Director Ellis confirms all mass drivers repurposed and loaded, Reed reported. They've stripped internal structures from their facilities for projectiles, mostly processed metal and slag. 287 launchers ready, Kate nodded. And our fleet? In position, Admiral West confirmed. Task groups positioned to appear as though we're attempting a conventional defense. The Vorn are responding exactly as predicted. They're targeting our communication satellites first, which means they haven't yet discovered we've established quantum entanglement comms with the lunar bases, Kate said. That gives us one advantage: coordination they can't intercept or jam. The ship shuddered as distant explosions flared against the blackness. Earth's first line of defense, automated platforms, were being systematically destroyed. The Vorn have begun their approach, Davis reported. Standard conquest formation. They're following their usual protocol. Kate allowed herself a thin smile. Predictable. That's their weakness. They've conquered so many worlds that they've become formulaic. She moved to the command station, activating the quantum comm link. The face of her brother, Mark Ellis, appeared, haggard but determined, lunar mining facility visible behind him. We're ready, he said simply. All facilities standing by. Remember the timing, Kate emphasized. We need precision to the second. When our fleet engages, the Vorn will raise their forward shields to maximum. That's when you hit them from behind, Mark nodded. We've calculated trajectories to target their propulsion systems. 20 tons of dense metal moving at 40,000 kilometers per hour tends to make an impression, shields or not. Begin final countdown, Kate ordered. Synchronize. All systems. As Mark's image disappeared, Admiral West joined her at the command station. It's almost time, he said quietly. The President has been moved to the hardened facility in Montana. If this fails... It won't, Kate said with more confidence than she felt. But one last thing. We need to send a message to the Vorn. A message? Now? Yes, an offer to accept their surrender. The Admiral stared at her. That's absurd. They'll see it as a joke. Exactly, Kate replied. They'll be insulted, angry, and when they're angry, they'll want to make an example of us, the Admiral finished, understanding dawning. They'll commit more fully to a frontal assault, making them even more vulnerable to our trap, Kate confirmed. Humans aren't the only species whose emotions can be weaponized. Admiral West considered for a moment, then nodded. Send the message. Make it arrogant. As Reed composed the transmission, Kate watched the alien fleet continue its inexorable approach. The Vorn had conquered countless worlds with their superior technology and overwhelming force. But they had never faced humanity before, and humans had one advantage the Vorn couldn't comprehend. Humans thrived on impossible odds. The Vorn commanders' reaction to Earth's message was exactly as Kate had predicted. They dare? Krall's voice thundered across the bridge as the translation appeared on his display. These primitives offer us terms of surrender? The message, deliberately provocative, had been crafted to inflame the pride of a species known for their rigid hierarchical society. It suggested the Vorn might wish to avoid unnecessary losses against Earth's superior tactical position. Sub-Commander Vex appeared concerned. Could they have capabilities our scans haven't detected? Impossible. Krall dismissed the notion with a wave of his armored claw. This is a desperate bluff. They hope to delay the inevitable. His eyes narrowed. We will answer their insolence appropriately, reconfigure from standard conquest to punitive formation. Alarms sounded across the human fleet as the Vorn ships began shifting position. "They're moving to attack pattern," Davis reported on the bridge of the Resilient. "Concentrated thrust toward our primary defense cluster." Kate studied the tactical display, a mixture of tension and satisfaction crossing her features. They took the bait. "Admiral, signal the fleet to initiate Protocol Matador." Admiral West gave the order, and Earth's vessels began a coordinated maneuver, appearing to strengthen their defensive formation while actually opening subtle channels in their lines. "Lunar base reports mass drivers charged to maximum," Reed announced. Awaiting final countdown. Kate's eyes never left the display. "Time to collision with Vorn Vanguard?" 4 minutes, 17 seconds, Davis replied. "Begin final countdown. Synchronize all systems. Transmit to lunar bases." Kate turned to the Admiral. "This is where we find out if humanity deserves to survive." As the distance closed between the fleets, Kate addressed the crew. "All personnel, secure for combat maneuvers. What happens in the next 5 minutes will determine the future of our species. Remember your training, remember your purpose, and remember what we're fighting for." The Vorn fleet accelerated, their massive engines flaring blue-white against the darkness. Their formation had shifted from the methodical approach of a standard conquest to the concentrated spearhead of a punitive strike. "They're committing more ships to the frontal assault than predicted," Davis noted with concern. "Nearly 70% of their fleet." "Good," Kate replied. "More targets in the kill zone." As the fleets closed to engagement range, the first salvos of energy weapons crossed the void. Earth's shields flared under the assault, some failing immediately under the overwhelming power of Vorn weaponry. "Return fire," Admiral West ordered. "All vessels, execute evasive pattern Delta." Earth's ships responded with everything they had: railguns, missiles, and their limited energy weapons. Against the Vorn shields, they seemed to make little impact. "Casualties reported on outer defensive ring," Reed reported grimly. 3 destroyers lost." Kate's knuckles whitened as she gripped the command console, but her voice remained steady. "Hold formation, lunar countdown at 90 seconds. Across the void, Kral watched with satisfaction as his fleet tore through the human defenses. "Their weapons are ineffective," he observed to Vex. "As expected." "Yes, war leader," Vex agreed, though something in the human formation troubled him. "Though they seem to be channeling our advance in an unusual pattern." "A futile attempt at tactics," Kral dismissed. "Press the advantage. Full commitment." On the lunar surface, Mark Ellis watched his countdown timer tick towards 0. Around him, mining facility staff, now impromptu warriors, manned the repurposed mass drivers. Each electromagnetic launcher had been aimed with precision, their projectiles, dense metal slugs harvested from mining equipment and facility structures, loaded and ready. 30 seconds, Mark announced, his voice carrying across the facilities. "Control room. Power at maximum, trajectories locked." Back on the Resilient, Kate initiated the final phase. "All vessels, execute Protocol Matador, now." Earth's remaining fleet suddenly broke formation, vessels scattering in seemingly chaotic patterns. To the Vorn, it appeared as a rout, the collapse of organized resistance. "They flee," Kral declared triumphantly. "Pursue and destroy, no survivors." The Vorn fleet surged forward into the space vacated by Earth's retreating vessels, exactly as Kate had planned. "Lunar base," Kate transmitted over the quantum link. "Fire." On the moon, Mark gave the command. "All drivers, execute." Across the lunar surface, from the Sea of Tranquility to the Ocean of Storms, hundreds of electromagnetic launchers activated simultaneously. With a silent flash of power, nearly 300 massive projectiles accelerated to tremendous velocity, arcing toward the exposed rear of the Vorn fleet. The humans had sprung their trap. The first impacts caught the Vorn completely by surprise. Across Idu, their fleet, rear sensors detected objects approaching at extreme velocity only seconds before collision. Without time to redirect shields or evade, the Vorn vessels took the full brunt of the assault. 20-ton slugs of dense metal struck ships at relative velocities exceeding 50,000 kilometers per hour. Shields designed to deflect energy weapons offered minimal resistance against pure kinetic force of this magnitude. Where the projectiles hit, they punched clean through hulls, triggering catastrophic secondary explosions as they shredded internal systems. On the Resilience Bridge, the tactical display updated as the first wave of lunar projectiles found their targets. Direct hits confirmed on 17 Vorn capital ships, Davis reported, unable to keep the amazement from his voice. 6 confirmed destroyed, 11 severely damaged. Kate allowed herself no celebration. Fleet status? Regrouping as ordered, Admiral West replied. Minimal losses during disengagement. The Vorn pursued exactly as predicted. They're fully committed to the forward assault. And completely exposed to the rear, Kate concluded. Lunar base, status, of second volley. Mark's voice came through the quantum link. Mass drivers recycling. Second wave ready in 40 seconds. On the Vorn command ship, chaos reigned. Alarms blared as damage reports flooded in from across the fleet. What is happening? Krall demanded, his composure finally cracking as a nearby cruiser exploded in silence. Vex worked frantically at his console. Projectiles, war leader, from the moon! They've weaponized their mining equipment! Impossible, Krall snarled. But the evidence was undeniable as another wave of impacts tore through his rearguard. Redirect shields. Turn the fleet. The fleet can't maneuver quickly enough, Vex replied. And the humans are regrouping. They're attacking our flanks while we're vulnerable. Krall's tactical display showed the human vessels, rather than fleeing, as he'd thought, now executing a coordinated attack on his fleet's exposed sides. Meanwhile, his rear guard was being systematically demolished by continued lunar bombardment. Kate watched as the Vorn formation began to break down. They're attempting to reorient, she observed. Admiral, signal all ships. Execute protocol. Hammer. Earth's fleet responded immediately, accelerating toward the disorganized Vorn vessels. What had appeared to be a retreat was now revealed as a strategic redeployment. Earth's ships had drawn the Vorn into a perfect killing zone, caught between the fleet's renewed assault and the continuing bombardment from the moon. Lunar base reports third volley ready, Reed announced. Fire at will, Kate ordered. Target their command ships, Mark acknowledged from the lunar facility. Adjusting trajectories. Firing. The third wave of projectiles launched from the lunar surface, their paths calculated to intercept the largest Vorn vessels, the command ships coordinating their fleet. On the Vorn flagship, Krall fought to regain control of the deteriorating situation. Order all ships to execute emergency dispersion, he commanded. Activate secondary shield arrays. Too late, Vex reported as new impacts registered across the fleet. Our command structure is compromised. We've lost coordination with the third and fourth battle groups. A violent shudder ran through the flagship as something massive collided with its stern. Status displays flickered and died across the bridge. Direct hit, an officer reported. Engine section severely damaged, power fluctuating. For the first time in his long career of conquest, Krall felt uncertainty. These humans had somehow turned a hopeless defense into an effective trap. They had converted mining equipment into weapons of devastating power. They had anticipated his psychology and used his confidence against him. Most disturbing of all, they had done it in mere weeks. Vex, Krall said quietly. Prepare the withdrawal protocol. His second-in-command stared in shock. War leader, we have never retreated. And I have never faced an enemy like this, Krall interrupted. These humans, they fight differently. Signal the fleet. We withdraw to regroup. As the command went out, Kate observed the change in Vorn formation with grim satisfaction. They're pulling back, she confirmed. Admiral, they're attempting to retreat. Admiral West's expression hardened. Do we let them go? Kate considered only briefly. No. If they regroup, they'll return with a strategy adapted to our tactics. We end this now. She opened a channel to all Earth forces. All vessels, pursue and engage. Lunar base, continue bombardment. Target their retreat vectors. As Earth's fleet pressed the advantage, the moon's mass drivers continued their relentless assault. The Vorn retreat became increasingly disorganized as ships were cut off and destroyed. They never expected this, Reed observed quietly. They thought we were just another conquest. Their mistake, Kate replied, watching as another Vorn cruiser succumbed to combined fire from 3 Earth destroyers. They calculated victory based on technology alone. She turned to face her crew. But humanity's strength isn't our technology. It's our refusal to accept defeat, even when the odds say we should. 12 hours after Operation Slingshot began, the remnants of the once mighty Vorn fleet were in full retreat. Of the 300 vessels that had arrived with such confidence, fewer than 70 remained operational, and those were fleeing at maximum speed toward the outer system. On the Resilience Bridge, Kate reviewed the after-action data with her command staff. Despite her exhaustion, a fierce pride burned in her eyes. Confirmed destruction of 231 enemy vessels, Davis reported, including their flagship and 6 command carriers. Our losses? Kate asked, bracing herself. Admiral West answered solemnly. 27 ships destroyed, 42 damaged but salvageable, approximately 1,500 personnel. He didn't need to finish. Each loss weighed heavily, but compared to what might have been the potential extinction of humanity, the cost was miraculously low. The lunar facilities? Kate inquired. Minimal damage, Reed replied. The Vorn attempted to target the mass drivers once they understood what was happening, but our defensive batteries kept them at bay long enough. Your brother reports they're already beginning repairs. Kate nodded, relief washing over her. She pulled up the long-range sensors on her display. The Vorn retreat vector? They appear to be regrouping at the edge of the solar system, Davis said. But long-range scans suggest they're preparing for faster-than-light departure, rather than a renewed assault. They're leaving, Admiral West stated, a note of wonder in his voice. We actually drove them off. Kate studied the tactical projections. For now, but they'll be back, with reinforcements and new tactics. We've bought time, not permanent victory. Time we desperately need, the Admiral acknowledged. The President is already conferring with global leaders. Research teams are being assembled to study captured Vorn technology. Lieutenant Reed looked up from his console. Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the Vorn. Kate's eyebrows rose in surprise. Put it through. The main display flickered, revealing the face of Sub-Commander Vex. With Kral presumably dead, he now led what remained of the invasion force. Human Commander, Vex began, his translated voice carrying a mixture of anger and reluctant respect. You have violated the natural order. No species at your technological level has ever repelled a Vorn conquest fleet. Kate met his alien gaze, steadily. Perhaps you should revise your evaluation of our technological level. We underestimated you, Vex conceded. A miscalculation we will not repeat. The Imperium will return. And we'll be ready, Kate replied without hesitation. But before you go, I want you to deliver a message to your Imperium. Vex's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. You are not in a position to make demands. I'm not making demands, Kate said evenly. I'm offering advice. Tell your leaders that humanity calculated our odds of victory at 1%, and we still prevailed. Tell them we transformed mining equipment into weapons capable of destroying your most advanced warships in a matter of days. Tell them that every moment you delay your return, we grow stronger, learning from your technology, preparing for your tactics. She leaned forward slightly. Most importantly, tell them that we're coming. This attack was a grave mistake. Humanity now knows we're not alone, and we know there are threats among the stars. We won't wait for the next invasion. We'll take the fight to you. Vex studied her in silence for a long moment. You are an interesting species, he finally said. Perhaps too dangerous to be allowed to expand beyond your world. That's not your decision to make anymore, Kate replied. Safe journey home, Sub-Commander. You'll need it. The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in silence. Admiral West cleared his throat. Was it wise to provoke them further? It wasn't. Provocation, Kate explained. It was psychological warfare. They need to understand that time works in our favor, not theirs. Every day they spend regrouping is a day we advance. She gestured to the captured Vorn vessel being towed into Earth orbit. By the time they return, we'll have incorporated their technology into our defenses. And with the world united against a common threat, the Admiral began. Exactly. Kate finished. Humanity has never been good at cooperation without an external pressure. Now we have one. She stood, stretching muscles cramped from hours at the command station. Have we received word from the lunar settlements about the asteroid belt operation? Reed nodded. Director Ellis confirms the mining guilds are mobilizing. They've already dispatched scout ships to identify suitable resource-rich asteroids. Good, Kate said. We'll need those resources if we're going to build a proper fleet. As the bridge crew returned to their duties, Kate moved to the viewport. Once more. Earth shone below, beautiful and fragile, but no longer undefended. Beyond, the stars beckoned with both promise and threat. The Vorn had calculated 1% odds and assumed victory was assured. Humanity had called those odds a death sentence and refused to accept it. That refusal had saved them. That uniquely human quality, the stubborn rejection of inevitable defeat, had proven more powerful than any technology. And now the galaxy would learn what it meant to face humanity unleashed. 6 months after the Vorn retreat, Earth was transformed. The scattered lunar mining operations had expanded into a full-fledged shipyard complex, with construction platforms extending across the Sea of Serenity. The mass drivers that had saved humanity were now being used to launch components for a defensive ring around Earth, a first line of protection against future invasions. Kate stood in the observation deck of Lunar Command, watching as workers assembled the framework for what would become humanity's first true warship. Not a hastily modified vessel like the Resilient, but a craft designed from the keel up for deep space combat, incorporating reversed-engineered Vorn technology. Impressive progress, Admiral West commented as he joined her at the viewport. The PAM Unity will be space-worthy within 3 months, ahead of schedule. The first of many, Kate replied. The asteroid mining operations are exceeding all projections. Director Garcia reports the automated extraction systems at Ceres are producing enough refined metal to build 2 capital ships per month once the fabrication facilities are complete. The Admiral nodded, his expression thoughtful. 6 months ago, we were facing extinction. Now we're planning an interstellar fleet. Nothing unites humanity like a common enemy, Kate observed. All the old divisions, nations, ideologies, religions, they seem trivial now. A young officer approached, saluting crisply. Commander Ellis, Admiral West. The Council is assembling for the intelligence briefing. They followed him through the corridors of Lunar Command, a massive complex that had grown from the original mining administration facility. Personnel from every nation worked side by side, united by purpose rather than divided by borders. The Council chamber was already filled when they arrived. Representatives from Earth's former nations, now administrative regions under the unified government, were seated alongside military commanders and scientific directors. At the center sat President Rivera, who had emerged as humanity's natural leader during the crisis. Commander Ellis, Admiral West, Rivera greeted them. Please join us. Director Nakamura was about to present the latest intelligence. Kate and the Admiral took their seats as Nakamura, head of the newly formed Xeno Intelligence Division, activated the central display. Thank you, Madam President, Nakamura began. As you know, we've been analyzing data recovered from the captured Vorn vessels, particularly their navigational systems and communication logs. We've made significant breakthroughs in understanding the structure of the Vorn Imperium. The display lit up with a 3-dimensional map of nearby star systems. The Vorn control approximately 67 star systems in this sector of the galaxy. Their governmental structure is hierarchical and militaristic, with conquered species serving as vassal populations. Any indication of their response to their defeat here? President Rivera asked. Nakamura nodded grimly. Based on intercepted communications, they're preparing a retaliatory force, much larger than the initial invasion fleet. A murmur ran through the chamber. However, Nakamura continued, we've also discovered something unexpected. The Vorn aren't the only advanced civilization in our vicinity. He highlighted several systems on the map. These systems show evidence of non-Vorn activity. Some appear to be independent worlds, others possible members of a different interstellar power. One that may be in conflict with the Vorn. Potential allies? Admiral West suggested. Possibly, Nakamura conceded. But we should be cautious about assuming any alien civilization would be friendly, simply because they oppose the Vorn. They might view us as primitive as the Vorn did. Kate studied the map, noting the strategic positioning of the systems. How long until the Vorn retaliation force reaches Earth? Our best estimate is 14 months, Nakamura replied. They're gathering forces from across their territory. President Rivera leaned forward. Then, we have 14 months to prepare. Admiral West, What is the status of our defense capability? The Admiral stood, taking control of the display. We've made remarkable progress. The orbital defense grid is 60% complete and already operational. The lunar shipyards have 3 vessels under construction, with the first launching in 3 months. The asteroid belt mining operations are running at full capacity, providing resources for further expansion. He highlighted several points in the solar system. We've also established defensive outposts on Mars, Europa, and Titan, giving us an early warning network that extends to the edge of the system. Kate added, most importantly, we've successfully integrated Vorn shield technology into our vessels and developed more effective weapons based on their design principles. The ships we're building now are technologically comparable to Vorn light cruisers. Not enough to face their full might, Admiral West cautioned, but enough to make any invasion extremely costly for them. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They had 14 months to prepare for an assault that might still overwhelm them, despite their advances. There is another option, Kate said finally, drawing every eye in the room. We don't wait for them to come to us. You're suggesting a preemptive strike? President Rivera asked, surprise evident in her voice. Kate moved to the display, highlighting a particular system near the edge of Vorn territory. This is Proxima Centauri, our nearest stellar neighbor. The Vorn established an outpost there recently, likely as a staging area for their invasion of Earth. It's lightly defended compared to their core systems, but strategically important. She turned to face the Council. I propose Operation First Step. We take the Unity and 2 support vessels to Proxima Centauri when they're complete. We destroy the Vorn outpost, demonstrating that we can strike beyond our solar system. Then we retreat before reinforcements arrive. The psychological impact would be significant, Admiral West acknowledged. The Vorn believe we're contained in our system. Showing we can project power beyond Sol would force them to reconsider their strategy. Murmurs of both support and concern rippled through the chamber. It's a significant risk, President Rivera noted. If the mission fails, we lose our first capital ship and experienced crew. With respect, Madam President, Kate replied. This entire situation is unprecedented risk. But humans don't win by playing defense alone. The Vorn understand conventional warfare, overwhelming force applied methodically. What they don't understand is humanity's capacity for audacity. She gestured to the map. They're expecting us to huddle behind our defenses, terrified of their return. The last thing they expect is for us to take the fight to them. Operation Slingshot succeeded because we did the unexpected. Operation First Step follows the same principle. President Rivera considered for a long moment, then looked around the room. I want to hear from the Council. Opinions? For the next hour, arguments flew back and forth. The risks were enormous, but so were the potential benefits. When the debate finally concluded, President Rivera stood. Commander Ellis, your proposal is approved. Operation First Step will proceed as outlined. You will command the Unity when it launches, with full authority to execute the mission as you see fit. Kate nodded solemnly. Thank you, Madam President. As the Council adjourned, Admiral West joined Kate at the viewport once more. Below them, work continued on the Unity's framework, humanity's first true interstellar warship. 14 months. Ago, we calculated 1% odds of survival, the Admiral remarked. Now, we're planning our first mission to another star. Kate watched as a massive section of hull plating was maneuvered into position. The Vorn made one critical error, she said quietly. They assumed technological superiority guaranteed victory. What they didn't understand, the Admiral finished, is that humans have never accepted the odds as destiny. Beyond the viewport, Earth hung in the blackness, no longer isolated, no longer innocent, but no longer helpless either. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, forced into advancement by crisis, but rising to the challenge in a way uniquely human. The stars that had once seemed so distant were now humanity's frontier. And humanity was coming. The Unity emerged from its first faster-than-light jump, with a flare of exotic particles, decelerating rapidly as it approached the Proxima Centauri system. Behind it, the support vessels Defiance and Challenger followed, their newly developed shields already raised in anticipation of conflict. On the Unity's bridge, Kate took in the view of humanity's nearest stellar neighbor, a red dwarf star that appeared as a dim crimson point against the blackness. Jump successful, Navigator Thompson reported. Position confirmed within 0.02 AU of calculated arrival coordinates. Excellent, Kate acknowledged, a flicker of pride in her voice. Humanity's first interstellar jump, executed with precision that would have been unimaginable a year ago. Passive sensors only. Let's see what we're dealing with before we announce ourselves. Lieutenant Reed, who had transferred from the Resilient to serve on humanity's flagship, worked his console with practiced efficiency. Scanning system. Detecting artificial structures orbiting the fourth planet. Configuration matches known Vorn outpost designs. Any sign they've detected us? Kate asked. Negative, Commander, Reed replied. Their sensor grid appears oriented toward the inner system. We've emerged beyond their standard patrol routes. Kate nodded, exactly as planned. The intel extracted from captured Vorn databases had proven accurate. Tactical assessment? Captain Alvarez, her second in command, studied the incoming data. The outpost is more extensive than predicted, but defenses remain as expected. 2 light cruisers on patrol, automated defense platforms in high orbit. The main installation appears to be a communications and monitoring station rather than a military base. Perfect, Kate said. That means minimal civilian presence. She had been adamant about this point. Their first strike beyond Earth would target military assets only. Humanity would not begin its interstellar presence by harming non-combatants, even alien ones. She opened a channel to all 3 ships. All vessels, this is Commander Ellis. Operation First Step is proceeding as planned. We have achieved humanity's first interstellar journey successfully. The Vorn outpost is confirmed at the expected coordinates. We will execute our attack as briefed. Surgical strikes on military assets only. Kate turned to Alvarez. Battle stations. Prepare for combat approach. Throughout the Unity, crew members moved with purposeful efficiency. Despite the tension, there was an undercurrent of fierce determination. Every person aboard understood the historic nature of their mission. They were the first humans to visit another star, and the first to bring humanity's response to those who had threatened Earth. All stations report ready, Alvarez confirmed minutes later. Weapon systems online, shield generators at full capacity. Communications. Kate addressed the officer at that station. Prepare the package for transmission. Package ready, Commander, the communications officer confirmed. Kate nodded. Very well. Signal the Defiance and Challenger to move into flanking positions. We attack in synchronized formation. As the support vessels acknowledged and began their maneuvers, Kate stood at the command station, a moment of profound awareness, washing over her. Humanity had come impossibly far in a brutally short time, from near extinction to bringing the fight to an alien star system. All because they had refused to accept defeat when the odds said they should. All ships in position, Alvarez reported. Awaiting your command. Kate took a deep breath. Begin Operation First Step. Release the drones. From each of the 3 Earth vessels, small unmanned craft launched silently into space, accelerating toward the Vorn outpost. Developed from captured technology and human ingenuity, these drones carried specialized electronic warfare packages designed to disrupt Vorn communications and sensor systems. Drones will reach effective range in 30 seconds, Reed reported. Kate watched the tactical display intently. On my mark, transmit the package and engage main drives. The seconds ticked down as the drones closed in on their targets, still undetected by Vorn sensors. Mark, Kate ordered. Instantly the drones activated, flooding Vorn communications with overwhelming interference. Simultaneously, the Unity and its companions engaged their main engines, accelerating toward the outpost at maximum velocity. Package transmitted, the communications officer confirmed. Across all Vorn channels, in their own language and in human English, the same message played on repeat. This is Commander Kate Ellis of Earth Vessel Unity. Your unprovoked attack on our homeworld has been answered. We have calculated your odds of stopping humanity's expansion at 0%. This is your death sentence. The psychological warfare component of the mission was as important as the physical strike. The Vorn needed to understand that humans could not only fight back, but could bring the battle to Vorn territory. Vorn vessels responding, Reed announced. Patrol cruisers breaking orbit to intercept. Defense platforms activating. As expected, Kate replied calmly. Execute attack pattern Delta. Target weapons and propulsion systems on the cruisers first. The Unity accelerated forward as the flanking vessels peeled off to engage the defense platforms. Earth's first interstellar battle had begun. The Vorn responded with predictable tactics, exactly as Kate had anticipated. Their cruisers moved to establish a defensive perimeter, while the platforms opened fire with energy weapons that lanced through space toward the human vessels. Shields holding at 92%, Alvarez reported as the Unity took its first hit. Return fire authorized. Execute, Kate ordered. The Unity's main weapons, reverse-engineered from Vorn technology but enhanced by human innovation, fired for the first time in actual combat. Concentrated energy beams struck the lead Vorn cruiser, disrupting its shields and scoring deep gouges along its hull. Direct hit, Reed confirmed with satisfaction. Their shield harmonics are fluctuating exactly as our simulations predicted. Around them, space lit up with weapons fire as the Defiance and Challenger engaged the defense platforms. The human vessels moved with unexpected agility, using maneuvers no Vorn tactician would have considered. High-risk, high-reward positions that exposed vulnerabilities but created devastating attack angles. Second Vorn cruiser changing vector, Reed reported. They appear to be attempting to reach the communication array, likely to send a distress signal. Not today, Kate responded. Helm, intercept course. Weapons, target their communications systems specifically. The Unity swung around with impressive speed, cutting off the Vorn vessel's path. Another barrage of energy fire struck the alien ship, this time focusing on its communication array. The structure crumpled under the assault, secondary explosions cascading along the hull. Their communications are down, Reed confirmed. First cruiser is attempting to withdraw. Significant damage to their propulsion systems. Kate watched as the Defiance and Challenger methodically disabled the defense platforms. Human technology, so recently considered primitive by the Vorn, was proving devastatingly effective against the alien defenses. Status of the main outpost? Kate inquired. Minimal defensive capabilities, Alvarez reported. They appear to be evacuating non-essential personnel to shelters. They've activated a distress beacon, but our jamming is containing it to this system. Kate nodded. Proceed to Phase 2. Target the outpost's military infrastructure only. Communications, sensor arrays, defense systems. Avoid habitation sections. As the Unity moved into position, Kate opened a ship-wide channel once more. This is Commander Ellis. We have achieved tactical superiority. We will now demonstrate to the Vorn that humanity can strike at will, but also that we have restraint they lack. Target military assets only. I want no civilian casualties. The precision bombardment began. Unity's weapons surgically removing the outpost's ability to threaten Earth, while deliberately preserving living quarters and life support systems. It was a demonstration not just of power, but of humanity's ethical framework, a message as important as the attack itself. Within 20 minutes, the Vorn outpost had been effectively neutralized. Both patrol cruisers were disabled, drifting with damaged propulsion and weapons systems. The defense platforms were silent. The outpost itself had lost all military capability, while its habitation sections remained intact. All primary objectives achieved, Alvarez reported. Secondary objectives complete. No detected casualties among non-military personnel. Kate nodded with satisfaction. Excellent work. Prepare for Phase 3, data extraction. From the Unity's launch bay, specialized boarding craft deployed, heading for the main outpost's data centers. These teams, a mixture of technical specialists and security personnel, would retrieve any intelligence that might help Earth prepare for the coming conflict. While the boarding teams worked, Kate opened a direct communication channel to the outpost's commander. Vorn Authority, she began. Your installation has been neutralized. Your defense forces are disabled. We have deliberately avoided targeting your civilian personnel in living spaces. This restraint is not weakness, it is choice. Remember this when you report back to your Imperium. There was a long pause before a response came. The Vorn commander's voice translated by the systems, developed from captured technology. Human commander, the voice growled. This attack will not go unanswered. You have merely hastened your species' extinction. On the contrary, Kate replied calmly. We have demonstrated that distance will not protect you. The Vorn Imperium believed Earth was isolated, vulnerable, contained. You were wrong. This is merely our first step beyond our home system. There will be more. The communication channel closed as the boarding teams reported completion of their mission. Valuable data had been secured. Star charts, fleet movements, communication protocols, intelligence that would prove invaluable in the coming conflict. All teams returned and accounted for, Alvarez confirmed. Mission objectives complete. Kate surveyed the tactical display one final time, observing the disabled Vorn assets and the still intact civilian sections. Transmit the final message, then prepare for departure. Across all remaining Vorn communication systems, a simple message played. The Vorn Imperium calculated that humanity had a 1% chance of victory. We proved those odds wrong. This is a sample of humanity's response to aggression against Earth. Remember it well. As the message concluded, Kate gave the order. All vessels, synchronized departure. Return to Sol System. The Unity and its companions engaged their faster-than-light drives, disappearing from the Proxima Centauri system in a flash of exotic particles. Behind them, they left a clear message for the Vorn Imperium. Humanity would not be conquered. They would not be contained. They had transcended their limitations and taken their place among the stars. 3 days later, the Unity led its small fleet back into Earth orbit, returning triumphant from humanity's first interstellar military operation. As the vessels approached the massive orbital defense platforms now surrounding Earth, communications channels lit up with congratulations and celebrations. On the observation deck, Kate stood with Admiral West and President Rivera, watching as Earth grew larger in the viewport. Operation First Step is complete, Kate reported formally. All objectives achieved. Minimal damage to our vessels. No casualties. President Rivera nodded, a mixture of relief and pride in her expression. The psychological impact has already been significant. Our intelligence networks report the Vorn are scrambling to strengthen outposts across their territory. They're diverting forces from their planned assault on Earth to shore up their defenses. Buying us time, Admiral West noted. Which is exactly what we needed. More than time, Kate corrected. We've changed the equation. Before, they saw us as primitive defenders, waiting behind our walls for their return. Now they know we can strike anywhere in their territory. The balance of power has shifted, President Rivera agreed. Not to equality, not yet, but enough to force them to reconsider. And the data you recovered will help us close the technological gap further. Kate turned from the viewport to face them. What about the non-Vorn civilizations we detected? Have we made contact? Not yet, the Admiral replied. But we're preparing diplomatic missions. If we can find allies among the stars, it would change everything. President Rivera's expression became serious. Commander Ellis, the Unity was built as our first true warship. But in light of recent developments, we're recommissioning her. For a different purpose. She handed Kate a datapad. Operation Emissary. A diplomatic mission to potential allies, with a show of military capability to demonstrate our value as potential partners. Kate scanned the mission parameters, understanding immediately the significance. Unity would lead a small fleet to contact non-Vorn civilizations, seeking allies in the coming conflict while demonstrating that humanity was worth allying with. I accept the mission, Madam President, Kate said without hesitation. As Earth continued to grow in the viewport, Kate reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From the moment she had declared a 1% chance of victory to be a death sentence, humanity had refused to accept limitations imposed by others. They had transformed crisis into opportunity, turning the Vorn's attack into the catalyst for unprecedented advancement. The stars were no longer distant points of light. They were destinations. And humanity was no longer alone in the universe, nor would they be subjugated by it. 1% odds. A death sentence transformed into humanity's rebirth among the stars. The Vorn had calculated wrong, and the galaxy would never be the same.